So, hey, good morning. Happy to be here today. Listen, today we're going to talk a little bit about loans. We've got Tony down here at the end from Prosperity Lending. He's going to talk to us about specifically ITIN loans.
Correct.
What? Tell me about ITIN. What's different about an ITIN loan compared to just like a standard conventional or an FHA?
Well, an ITIN basically would apply to someone who doesn't have full status with a social security number in this country.
Okay, so someone that's a non-citizen.
Correct. They would be eligible to work, so the ITIN status grants them that, but means that they haven't yet met all the requirements to receive social security card. So social security card obviously is the next step, when that gives them basically more access or puts them in a different category from the lending perspective.
Cool. Hey, tell us about Prosperity a little bit. How long have you been lending? Tell us a little bit about your career.
Well, I've been lending for 18 years. I've been in Vegas that long. I did actually start in the mortgage industry up in the Northwest, up in Oregon.
It sounds like you came from over the pond to me. It doesn't sound like you came from the Northwest.
Well, I did come from over the pond. Yeah, I swam over many years ago, but I wasn't in the lending industry then.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Doing things a little less profitable or interesting. Oh, there you go.
Got it.
But 18 years, Prosperity, which is a subsidiary of All Western Mortgage, by the way, for any of the folks out there. And if you have a chance to Google All Western, you'll see it's one of the largest regional lenders in the western part of the country. So we have the benefit of accessing All Western's brokerage lines. It gives us more access to more lenders, basically. So if there's a particular scenario that it's not easy to find a lender, we go to All Western and they can hook us up with another lender that will do that scenario.
Yeah, so it's more of it's more of brokeraging loans, finding different lenders that will do,
correct,
rather than being
correct,
like the actual money lender part of it.
Correct.
And by the way, you guys just helped one of my clients get a deal done with a very unconventional kind of loan.
Correct.
And ironically, it was a hard money loan, and those typically take 30, 45 days to get done, and you guys closed that thing in like 22 days or something like that. So
yeah, that was pretty smooth. But the borrowers were very receptive. They were very, when we requested anything, they got on it. It worked out well.
Yeah. They actually move in tomorrow. So
pleased to hear it.
Yeah, they're living in I'm sorry, not tomorrow, it's Friday. They're actually living in a hotel today. Because they got a little gap between when they had to move out of their house and when they get to move in over there.
Let me know on the housewarming party.
Yeah, we'll invite you over. No problem. I'm not sure if there's going to be one, but. So also with us today is Julissa Solis. She is, for those that know a little bit about, we call her Julie, because when she very first joined me, I told her I wouldn't know how to say Julissa, so I would just not even try, but I think I figured it out, right?
Correct. Yes.
So she's the one that runs the show. Like, this is the boss. You guys need to understand that when something gets done, needs to be done, she's in charge. She tells all of us what to do. And one of her passions, maybe, or one of the things that she really kind of focuses on is the man, I'm going to say this probably politically incorrect, but the Spanish speaking or the Hispanic community here in Las Vegas. And one of the challenges that they have with buying or with housing in general or buying homes is many of them here are have ITIN numbers. They're able to work, but they don't have full citizenship. And so we're going to talk a lot today about what does an ITIN loan look like. So talk to me. Like, what are the questions? What's the community want to know about ITIN?
Well, I have a couple of questions.
You got to get a little closer to this thing, the microphone.
First question is, can you buy a house with only an ITIN in the U.S.?
Yes, you can. Absolutely. With several brokers, I mentioned the connection with All Western, we would go back to them, and we have several lenders that will do that scenario.
Perfect.
So when you ask the question with only an ITIN, are you saying that there's nobody in that relationship that has a social security number?
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
So don't need to have a social security number in any way, as long as you have an active ITIN
status, yes.
Which my understanding is your ITIN needs to be renewed every 3 years.
Every
right?
3 years.
So as long as it's active and as long as you can provide that information, then it is possible to buy a house.
Correct. As long as it's active and current at the time of close of escrow.
Okay.
Okay.
So if they're renewing theirs and they're going through that process and it's not currently active, they could get started
Correct.
as long as it was activated by the close of escrow,
That's correct.
30 or 45 days down the
Yeah.
road. Cool.
Okay. So, second question is, why would ITIN be denied?
I don't know that there's the only reason that an ITIN circumstance, just like any loan, may be denied. There are no the ITIN borrower, just like any other borrower, would need to meet the guidelines of the investor/lender, however you want to term it. Those guidelines vary, obviously, depending on the loan type, whether it be a government loan, FHA, VA, conventional loan, a jumbo loan, private money loan that we talked about earlier. So the only reason that an ITIN borrower would be denied was if they didn't meet all of the specific guidelines.
If they
That could be
didn't
down
jump
to
through the
FICO's.
hoops.
Sorry?
If they couldn't jump through all the hoops.
Correct. Yeah, FICO score, assets, income. There's a fancy term they like to use in the industry called DTI. That refers to debt to income ratio. But that would apply on every loan that's out there.
Okay.
So qualifying for an ITIN is no different than with an ITIN. Qualifying for a loan with an ITIN or a social security number is exactly the same.
Correct.
There's really no difference. You got to
Absolutely.
qualify. You got to have a good credit score. You got to have good trade lines. You got to have your debt to income ratio has to be in line with
Correct.
the guidelines. So there's no difference.
That's correct.
Good.
Okay. So, how can you buy a house if you have to renew your ITIN every 3 years?
Once the buyer actually acquires the property, their actual status in terms of renewing the ITIN is of no consequence at that point.
Okay.
Once the property is in their name, they've met all of going back to the guidelines and the rules again that govern that loan type and that investor requires for that loan, then they are good to go. What happens beyond that date has no consequence as to the property. Obviously, it's not good for any borrower to let any kind of legal status expire, and I wouldn't advise that by any means. But once they've signed on the bottom line, they received the keys, we've gone through the escrow period, they're good to go. The lender, in all honesty, is not interested in the renewing of the ITIN at that point once we close.
Yeah, I think it's good to say that once it's closed, the lender is not going to go back and check ITIN status.
No.
Like that's not part of their purview as a lender.
Not at all.
Their only real concern is that you pay the payment. I mean,
Correct.
pay the payment, maintain the property, pay the property taxes, make sure it's got insurance, like just standard, just like anybody else, Social Security number, ITIN,
One
it's the
other thing,
same.
keep the HOA happy.
Oh, well, yeah. I think we'll find that. Yeah, you're right. I won't say that. Yeah, so
different
it's no different, right? I mean,
No,
there's
it
no
isn't.
difference between, and the reason I keep saying this is because I think the perspective in the world, in the marketplace out there, is that there's this big shadow or this big cloud over people who have ITINs and want to buy houses, and I just don't think that exists. I think it's a pretty fair level playing field out there.
Correct.
You know, they got to have good credit. They've got to have some money in reserves. They got to have some. Just like anybody else who wants to buy a house, it's very possible.
Correct.
So, and I think that's what I'm trying to get across here is that if you have an ITIN, we should be talking about getting you into a house. There's no
Correct.
reason not to.
Well, one point I probably should make on that is that the borrower doesn't not necessarily need to be actively employed. Lenders will take into consideration Social Security income, disability income, pension income, alimony, trust income, any other form, basically all income that is documented and received on a regular basis can be used to help the ITIN borrower qualify.
Again, just like anybody who's
Just
got
like
a Social
any other
Security
borrower.
number. Yeah,
Correct.
because all that applies to somebody that's got a Social
Correct.
Security number as well.
Correct.
Cool.
Okay. So, what is the FICO score for an ITIN?
Good question. At 90% loan to value, that means the borrower would come in with 10% of the purchase price. We're looking at a 720 score with 2 trade lines. That would mean 2 active accounts. It could be car loans, student loans, installment loans.
Just anything that they pay a monthly payment on.
Correct. Any kind of revolving credit.
Oh.
Yes. There's also, specifically for self-employed borrowers, a bank statement program where the borrower would need 20% of the purchase price, but with a lower FICO requirement. So I've no doubt for self-employed borrowers, this might be a good deal, a 680 FICO score.
So 680 is the minimum, and that's 20% down.
Correct.
And that would be a bank statement loan.
Correct.
And what that means is that they would provide to this lender 12 months or 24 months
Correct.
even of
bank statements.
actual bank statements that show deposits.
Correct.
And then what the lender will do at that point is they'll go through those statements and see which of those deposits they'll allow, because they won't allow all of them.
So long as they're all business deposits, they will use 100% of the business income. Some lenders will only take a certain percentage of business income, because I guess their rationale is that there are expenses associated with this income.
Sure, just like any other business owner.
We have lenders that will use 100% of the business income and an unaudited P&L, profit and loss statement. And unaudited is a big deal because it means the potential buyer doesn't need to go back to the accountant and have them prepare something and go through all the receipts and documentation. And by the way, there's a cost for that. So it means that they avoid the cost. They can also prepare it themselves. You know.
Okay. Well, what kind of loan does ITIN get?
That would be what's called a conventional loan. The 2 scenarios that we just described, a full doc loan, that was the one with tax returns, W-2s, and pay stubs, would be a minimum of 10% down. With 20% down, there's no mortgage insurance involved. Okay? So, but if the borrower were to come in with just the minimum of 10%, they would have mortgage insurance based on the remaining 10%, which with a 720 FICO score would not be a great deal. On the other option, the bank statement program we just discussed, with the 20% down option, there'd be no mortgage insurance whatsoever on that. So that could be a significant saving to the borrower.
So Tony, let me ask, 685 credit scores the lowest with somebody with an ITIN?
680.
680, okay. And is there a program out there that's less than 10% down? Is there a 5% down program for ITIN?
Not yet. This is actually...
Not currently.
We were at 20% during the COVID period when the investors they tightened the purse strings, as you and I know.
Sure.
10% would not have been doable. But now things are starting to open up again. More programs becoming available. 10% down is the best one that I found right now. And by the way, even on a full-blown loan, so one with a regular Social Security number, U.S. citizen or resident alien status, on a jumbo loan, the best we can get right now is 10% down. So this is consistent with that.
So what would you tell somebody that's got a 650 credit score? They've got the 10% money they can put down. What can you do to help get them from the 650 to the 680 or the 720 that they need?
I have a program. I don't think I'm only the only lender that has this program. But the best news about it is it's designed to raise FICO scores. And in a lot of cases, believe it or not, we've actually gotten a 60-point increase in one particular scenario. And the best news of all, it doesn't cost the borrowers a penny. I just closed a VA loan last month where we could not use the spouse's income unless we raised our FICO score. We got it up 40 points, believe it or not, in 1 month.
Wow, in 30 days?
Yeah. Actually, in 3 weeks.
Wow, that's incredible.
I remember the date specifically. It was 3 weeks, and they qualified for that property. VA loan, no down payment. They got into it. They was as happy as a clown, yeah.
So anybody below 680 can get involved in this program
Absolutely.
with you. Doesn't cost them anything.
Doesn't cost the
it's
borrower
free.
a penny. Rather than a credit repair place, which I guess there's mixed opinions on credit repair places and the job that they do, but also they're going to charge you for the privilege as well. And my company, we don't charge for this service, none whatsoever.
Free's always good.
Absolutely.
Right? Free's always good.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions on there? I know you came loaded with.
Yeah, I have a couple more, but I know we run.
It's okay. Let's throw them out there.
Okay. So the last question is, if my husband has an ITIN and I have a Social Security, can he still be a co-signer, and would that affect the loan?
Yeah, you could both go on the same loan, and the guidelines that would apply if your husband in that particular scenario was the one with the ITIN number, then that would be considered an ITIN loan. So it would be subject to the ITIN requirements of the particular lender, okay? Rather than the Social Security, that would be different guidelines for that particular loan type. Yeah,
Okay. So he can't be a
correct.
co-signer.
You can both go on the same loan, yes.
Cool. That's it.
That's it.
So, hey, I hope this helps. I know, to be quite honest, when it comes to an ITIN loan, I've been in the business 16 years and just haven't done a lot of them. I've just not been involved. So it's always good to kind of get a refresher on what's
Sure.
available, what's out there, what can and can't be done. I think the biggest thing I learned today is that, look, it's no different than anybody else getting a loan. If you have an ITIN and you want to buy a house, let's do it, right? I mean, you got to
Right.
have some money.
Absolutely.
And it's got to be documented money. It can't just be mattress money. It's got to be in
No.
the bank, and we got to be able to verify where it came from. And it's 10% down. So if you're buying a $400,000 house, you'll need $40,000 for your down payment, and then some closing costs and things. But we can all work on those numbers
Sure.
together.
Put your money in the bank is the bottom line.
Yeah, that's another challenge I
Some
know.
people are reluctant to do that.
It's got to be
I understand
documented.
that partly it's a cultural thing, but put it in the bank. It has to be documented.
Yeah, so it's got to be what they call seasoned. Seasoned is 60 days,
60 days.
right? So it's got to be
Sure.
in the bank for 60 days to show that it's been seasoned. And
There is one other thing, a program which is specifically for investment properties. That would involve 25% down, so slightly higher. I have no doubt that as the market continues to open up and we get back to quote unquote normal, whatever normal is,
whatever that
then
is.
these down payment requirements will come down. I mean, 10% now, that wasn't out there 6 months or a year ago.
What's the best you've ever seen in ITIN? Were they ever 5%?
I think we may go down to 5%. The lender is always in a position to require more, lower debt to income ratio, maybe more reserves, so that they're always in a position where they can tweak it in other ways.
A little bit.
But I do think that people who don't necessarily have the 10%, they don't want to lose those borrowers, those potential buyers.
Sure.
So they can always
Well-
lower that down payment requirement, but
The lender doesn't
Having
make
done
any
those.
money unless they give loans, right?
That's
So they're
correct.
always going to be trying to find ways to tweak
that's
it and
correct,
get the
yeah.
loan.
Absolutely.
Get the
we
loan
also have
done.
Spanish-speaking loan officers, by the way.
See? That's the only word I know in
Sí,
Spanish.
señor, señorita.
All right. Well, hey, great information. Now I know a little more about the ITIN world, and maybe we can get out there and help some people. So thanks for coming on today, Tony. I appreciate it.